Imagine this. It's a quiet evening in South Ashburnham, Massachusetts, January 25, 1967. Betty Andreasson is busy in her kitchen. Her 7 children are playing. Her parents are in the living room. It's a scene of perfect domestic tranquility. Then, suddenly, the lights in the house flicker and die, plunging the room into an eerie silence, broken only by a pulsating reddish-pink light flooding through the kitchen window. The kids stop playing. Everyone freezes. What was happening? This wasn't just a power outage. This was the beginning of one of the most detailed and spiritually profound alien encounter cases in modern history, the Betty Andreasson Affair. Betty's father, worried, peers out the window to see where the light is coming from. He sees not 1, but 5 strange figures hopping towards the house in a single file line. He screams for Betty's husband, who is sick in bed. But before anyone can truly react, the figures pass straight through the solid wooden door of the kitchen. Time itself seems to slow down, to stretch and warp. The family is frozen, suspended in a state of suspended animation, all except for Betty. She stands there facing these beings. They weren't menacing monsters from a horror film. They were small, about 4 feet tall, with large, pear-shaped heads, wide wraparound eyes and tiny ears and noses. Their skin was a grayish tan, and they wore dark blue one-piece uniforms with a strange bird emblem on the sleeve. And their hands? They only had 3 fingers. One of them, who seemed to be the leader, stepped forward. He didn't speak with his mouth, but Betty heard his voice clearly in her mind. He was calm, reassuring, and strangely kind. He told her not to be afraid. They had chosen her for a special purpose. The leader communicated with Betty through telepathy, explaining that they needed something from her. A sense of peace washed over her, replacing the initial shock and fear. The beings, despite their otherworldly appearance, radiated an aura of benevolence. They led her, floating rather than walking, out of the house and towards a craft waiting outside. It was a classic saucer shape, resting silently on 3 legs in her backyard, humming with a low, vibrational energy. As she was taken aboard, she looked back at her family, still frozen in time, like statues in a strange tableau. She felt a pang of worry, but the leader assured her they would be safe and would remember nothing. Inside the craft, the air was clean and sterile. The interior was bright white, with curved walls and no sharp corners. Betty was subjected to a physical examination, but it wasn't the cold, clinical procedure often described in abduction stories. It was gentle, almost reverent. They used a long, thin, needle-like probe, but she felt no pain, only a strange sensation. The beings explained they were studying humanity, our physical and spiritual nature. They seemed fascinated by the human condition, by our emotions, our beliefs, and our capacity for both good and evil. What happened next is what truly sets the Andreasson Affair apart from so many others. This was not just a physical abduction, it was a spiritual journey. The beings took Betty on a trip far beyond her quiet Massachusetts home. She described traveling through a red-hued dimension, then a green one, passing through crystal-like structures and landscapes that defied earthly physics. It was a voyage through other realities, other planes of existence. She felt as though her consciousness was expanding, that she was seeing the universe from a perspective she could never have imagined. The beings showed her incredible visions. One of the most powerful was that of a giant phoenix, a magnificent bird engulfed in flames. It burned to ashes, and then from those very ashes it was reborn, more beautiful and vibrant than before. They explained to her that this was a symbol for humanity and the earth. A great cleansing, a destruction was coming, but it would be followed by a renewal, a rebirth of the spirit. It was a message not of doom, but of hope and transformation. The leader then gave her what she could only describe as a book. It wasn't made of paper, but of thin, flexible, glass-like pages. It was filled with writing she couldn't read, but as she held it, knowledge seemed to flow directly into her mind. She understood it contained wisdom about the universe, about life, and about humanity's place within the cosmos. It was a gift, they told her, something for her to hold on to. Throughout the entire experience, Betty felt a deep sense of peace and overwhelming love. The beings communicated messages about the importance of spirituality, love, and understanding. They weren't just curious scientists, They were spiritual guides. The encounter was filled with religious and mystical symbolism. Betty, a devout Christian, interpreted much of what she saw through the lens of her own faith, but the messages were universal. They spoke of a single universal creator, a source of all life that connected every being in the cosmos. After what felt like an eternity, but was only a few hours in Earth time, they brought her back. She floated back into her home, just as she had left. As she was placed back on her feet, the leader gave her a final telepathic message. She would forget the details of her journey for a time, but the memory would return when it was meant to. Then, the beings turned and walked back through the solid door. The pulsating red light vanished, the power in the house surged back on, and her family unfroze, completely unaware that any time had passed. They just remembered the lights flickering and then coming back on. For them, only a moment had gone by. For years, Betty held on to the fragmented memories and the deep, unshakable feeling that something profound had happened to her. She was confused and conflicted. Was she going crazy? In 1975, 8 years after the event, she responded to a call for alien encounter experiences from a researcher named Dr. J. Allen Hynek. This led to a years-long investigation involving a team of scientists, doctors, and hypnotists. Under multiple sessions of hypnotic regression, the full, stunning detail of her story emerged. What was remarkable was the consistency of her account over dozens of sessions. Her emotional reactions were raw and genuine. When she relived the experience under hypnosis, she would cry, she would express awe, and she would convey the same sense of profound peace and love she felt during the encounter. The investigators, including the lead author of the study, Raymond Fowler, were struck by her sincerity. Betty and her family were simple, down-to-earth people. They weren't seeking fame or money. In fact, they were reluctant participants, wary of the ridicule they might face. The Betty Andreasson Affair blurs the lines. Was it a physical alien abduction? A mystical or spiritual experience? A journey into another dimension? Or perhaps all of the above? The case is so compelling because it challenges our simplistic notions of alien abduction. It suggests that encounters with non-human intelligences might not always be about terrifying experiments, but can be sources of profound spiritual insight and transformation. It presents a vision of extraterrestrial life that is not hostile or indifferent, but wise, compassionate, and deeply invested in the spiritual evolution of humanity. To this day, the Andreasson Affair remains one of the most thoroughly documented and deeply moving cases on record. It is a story that invites us to look up at the stars and wonder not with fear, but with a sense of awe and possibility. It reminds us that the universe is far stranger, more beautiful, and more mysterious than we can possibly imagine. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's most fascinating encounters. What do you think happened to Betty Andreasson? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, please hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations of the world's greatest mysteries. We'll see you in the next video. Hello and welcome, brave truth seekers, to Myths. I'm your guide into the shadows, and this is the channel where we dare to ask the questions others won't. Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered if we're truly alone? Have you ever felt a sudden chill in an empty room or heard a whisper on the wind that you just couldn't explain? If so, you've found your home. Here at Myths, we journey into the heart of the unknown. Together, we'll investigate the most compelling UFO sightings, from strange lights dancing over our cities to alleged encounters with beings not of this world. We'll explore the chilling tales of paranormal activity, from haunted locations that echo with the past to objects that seem to carry a life of their own. We'll also hunt for legendary creatures that lurk just beyond the edge of our maps, those cryptids whispered about in folklore for generations. And we won't stop there. We will dive deep into the ancient myths and lost histories that shaped our world, searching for the kernels of truth hidden within the legends. What makes a story last for centuries? Is it just imagination, or is there something more? From the mysterious disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle to the enigmatic Nazca lines etched into the desert floor, we'll examine the evidence, piece together the clues, and listen to the eyewitnesses. This isn't just about telling scary stories around a campfire. It's about a relentless search for answers. We approach every topic with a healthy dose of skepticism, but also with an open mind, because history has shown us that the impossible can sometimes become fact. This channel is more than just a collection of videos, it's a community. A community of explorers, thinkers, and investigators who aren't afraid to look into the abyss. I want to hear from you. What have you experienced? What local legends haunt your hometown? Share your stories and theories in the comments below, because the best discoveries are often made when we collaborate and share our knowledge. So, if you're ready to challenge your perception of reality and explore the mysteries that lie just beneath the surface, then I invite you to join our tribe. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an expedition into the unknown. Thank you for being here. Let's start the search for truth together.